Okay, there we are. Good evening, folks. A few days away from spring. It doesn't feel like it, but we're getting there. The first order of business is we have a public hearing for three of our local establishments that do serve liquor, and they've been asked to appear before the board as the licensing authority, and the hearing is regarding alleged violation of the laws of the Commonwealth by selling alcoholic beverages to a minor on the date of January 25th, 2015, during an alcohol compliance check done by the Raynham Police Department. And we do have individuals, I believe, from each of those three establishments. No particular order. I'll pick the Raynham Derby Club, George Carney.
Michael Marizio.
Okay, Michael. Please, use the microphone, Michael.
Good evening. My name is Michael Marizio. I'm with the firm of Friedman Atherton in Boston, and I'm here for the Raynham Derby Club.
Okay. So, aboard? All right.
Mr. Chairman, if I Mike, typically what we do is, if you have any comments or input that you want the board to be aware of, we've already read the police report, this would be our opportunity.
Okay. Usually I have in other jurisdictions, usually have the police officer present who explains it all, but I appreciate what you said, Mr. Pacheco. This is really a rather simple situation, if I may say so. First of all, we appreciate the work that the Raynham Police Department does. I think the board knows that the Raynham Dog Track, which is the site of where the Derby Club operates, has been operating for countless numbers of years. There are police officers there all the time, and we take our obligations very seriously with respect to serving minors, even with allowing minors into the gaming operation. So this is a very serious matter, and we don't mean to suggest that it's not. I think what I would like to point out to the board, that in this particular instance, the bartender who was there and did the serving is here tonight, Linda. I think she'd tell the board, if the board would like to hear it, is that she asked I'll call him the undercover minor who was at the establishment, for an ID. She was serving her waitresses, her customers, and the undercover gentleman asked to be served for a beer. Linda then asked him for an ID, and you'll need to show me an ID, sir. I'll need an ID from you. And then she went on to serve the rest of her customers. It was a busy night. She then came back to him a second time, and he didn't walk away after being asked for an ID. And he asked a second time, and Linda said, I need an ID from you. You need to show me your ID. And he said something to the effect where, I've lost my ID, it was stolen, or I lost it, I don't have it with me, but I am over the age of 21. She then asked him for a third time, and she said, I don't have an ID, I've lost it. So then she asked him how old he was. He gave her an age that was over 21. He looked more than 21 years old, and he did serve her. The point that I think that I would like the board to consider is that, and we all appreciate the work that the police department does, but most police departments, even the Attorney General, have guidelines for when they operate these sting operations. And the major point of the guidelines is to ensure that innocent people, innocent bartenders who are there working and trying to earn a living, aren't, I don't want to say tricked into violating the law, but induced or deceived into violating the law. Because it's entirely one thing if someone sits down and says, serve me a beer, and the bartender just serves you a beer. It's quite another when you ask for an ID and the undercover person doesn't tell the truth, says, I don't have one. And then you ask a second time, and they say it's been lost or stolen. And you even go to the third time. And if this isn't a court of law, and I'm not suggesting that it is, but if we were in a court of law, the issue would be one what lawyers call entrapment, which is the government, whether it's alcohol or anything else, is not supposed to induce someone into committing a crime who's not already predisposed to do so. Because everybody can be tempted into something, and that's not what the government and police operations are supposed to do. And that's why there are guidelines usually issued for these types of operations that tell these undercover folks who are minors exactly what they're supposed to do. And I would submit to you that if you had guidelines, they would say that if the person asks you for an ID, you then present your proper lawful ID. The person then would see that you're a minor and say, sorry, I can't serve you. That you're not supposed to deceive the bartender. You're not supposed to not tell the truth.
Okay.
And I think that's what happened here, and I would ask the board to recognize that as a mitigating factor. The other thing I can say to the board is the Raynham Derby Club has a zero tolerance for serving minors. I can show the board, if it would like, the employee's handbook, which says doing so is grounds for immediate termination of employment without a warning. And Linda signed that employee handbook and was well aware of that situation. But the employer chose not to fire her in this case because she's been an outstanding employee. There's been no problems. But because she was induced, tricked to some degree. Now, she's been counseled that anyone who looks to be 35 years old or younger must present an ID, and if they don't have one, they're not going to be served, regardless of what they say. And she understands that. But I would just submit, in this case, there is a mitigating factor that the young gentleman, who probably hasn't been trained, there isn't any guidelines, he was trying to do the right thing, he was acting, play acting, but he didn't understand that he wasn't supposed to not tell the truth. And that's, I think, is the mitigating factor here.
Okay. Please, board.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I would suggest we have the chief here to let him comment. I've known Mr. Merzio for some time, and I have the utmost respect for him, and he's a highly capable attorney, but his presentation is in contradiction to what the police report states. Deep contradiction, so I think it would be helpful for all of us if the chief could provide us some insight on the practice and also this particular scenario.
Yes, okay, thank you, Joe. Donovan?
Yes, I can tell the board and I can tell these folks that this isn't the first time we've done this. This isn't the first time that this operator went in undercover and has done this. He has done it for other agencies. He has done it throughout the Commonwealth. So we're well aware of the guidelines from the ABCC, and we adhere to those. So,
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you,
Yep.
Chief.
Yep. Any further comment from the board?
No, everything is quite concise between the report and the comments made.
Okay, so that in the past, what we have done was require that there be some penalty for this action. In the past, it's typically been 1 day that we would require that they don't serve alcohol as kind of a reminder that this is a critical and important thing. Joe, you can tell them a little bit about the history of this and what we would do by way of recommendation to this organization.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. I think, Mike, again, thank you for coming, and Linda, we appreciate you coming as well. And as the chairman said, we, and I think all of us, we take this personal and extremely seriously. And while we do recognize some of the circumstances, Mike, that you outlined, in my mind, a violation is a violation, and a violation did occur here, a significant violation that could have jeopardized public safety. And so with that, it would be my recommendation for a 1-day suspension at the establishment's choosing.
Okay, fine.
That is the precedence that we have already established for this board. That is what we usually do. The only caveat to that would be obviously that the person, the establishment, would select which day they chose to do that.
And so we will, look for you all to give us that input from yourself, and we'll be guided by that.
I can suggest to the board that any Tuesday would be acceptable.
That's fine.
The board can select a Tuesday that wishes.
You pick it.
You pick it.
Mike, if you want to consult, you can contact Randy tomorrow. What we can do is, we'll do a 1-day suspension with a date to be determined,
By you. Yeah.
and that way you can make a decision and get back to Randy.
Yep.
Okay.
And by the way, we do appreciate all the comments you made, and we know that you have handbook, and we know that your people work at this, and if nothing else, the incident, it just serves as a reminder that we always have to be diligent. It just, when somebody doesn't answer the question, that's it, I mean, if you have any questions, I hope you would serve me without an ID, but, so there are limits, but it does serve as a reminder that we do have to be diligent.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I might too, before you call the vote, this only impacts your liquor license. It doesn't impact the rest of your operation for that day.
Okay,
But
so I
that
have a
would be
motion?
Yeah, motion.
That's a motion, I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So done, and thank you for being here. And so we also have next the Asian Palace, and you've heard a little bit of what's transpired, so please come to the microphone, and we will certainly be pleased to hear you, too.
We're gonna have a language barrier, yeah.
Yes. Okay, and just speak into the mic so we can hear you.
So I'm gonna speak first, and she can
Yes,
really
that's
speak
fine.
first. So I was actually the one who was serving the alcohol
Okay.
to the minor.
And your name, please?
Timmy.
Timmy?
Your full name for the record?
Timmy Yu.
Timmy
So
Yu, okay.
yeah, that's the full name. So so when I was serving the beer, I didn't really ask for the ID, and because like when I looked at him, he looked over probably 30, I think. I don't really remember what he looked like. It was a long time ago.
Yep.
But yeah, I served him the alcohol, and then after that, the police came, and then they were giving us questions, and yeah, that was. And I don't work there; I just help out because they're low on staff. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind
Well, I think, if I may, just to build on what was discussed earlier, if you're just there helping out, you need to be as aware of, I'm sure, of the policies that, the Asian Palace has in place. I think that whoever is tending the bar needs to be, understanding of what those policies are with regard to serving minors. It's an important issue. There's a safety issue here. That's why the police do this work. And I would ask for a motion for a similar action on the part of the board as what we.
Also add into the motion that if he has not been tip certified, that
Yeah, I would, before our motion discussion,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
um,
please.
My particular concern with your business is you're the newest on the block. And the reason why it's most concerning to me is you were here recently getting your license, and we told you when you got your license what our expectations were, and you still violated them. So while, in my opinion, there's no justification for serving a minor at all, you've had your license, what, I think 18 months, Mr. Buckner?
That's what sounds about.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you're already violating it. And that, to me, sends a bad message. It sends a really bad message. And I understand you're helping out and you're short-staffed, but that doesn't allow you to skirt the responsibility that this board and this community placed on you. And it notes in here, as Mrs. Smith was saying, you're not tip certified. So while I'm hearing you recognizing that you did, in fact, serve a minor, you haven't told us what you're going to do to prevent this in the future. We heard from Attorney Maurizio what they have in place. I've heard nothing from you as to how you plan on remediating this. And that, to me, has some impact as well. So do you want to elaborate at all? Because I'm emphasizing to you right now that that's a significant concern.
Yeah, I'll make sure this won't happen again. I'll ask for the IDs for anyone who asks for alcohol, and yeah.
And what about being tip certified, and what about if you're not there? What happens if somebody else is just helping out? You heard again, Raynham Park has a handbook in place that outlines the procedures and protocols, and your business is supposed to be familiar with what our expectations are. So outside of you not serving in the future, how do you prevent this?
I don't really, I don't really,
Is this person the owner?
yeah,
So maybe if she doesn't speak, you could maybe translate to her the issue and the questions that have been raised by Selectman Pacheco with regard to what are you going to put in place to ensure that the organization is understanding of this requirement, not just you, but the owner, because the owner is the one that, you know, that creates the structure and the rules and regulations.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, so next time.
Be careful, that's the idea.
Yeah, so like she said, so next time if this ever happens, she'll let the other workers know about it, and she understands the
She will,
consequences.
to Mr. Pacheco,
Okay.
go right
If-
ahead, Marie.
If I may just try to simplify this whole
Yeah.
thing. Make sure that all of the people that are going to be serving are tip certified.
All right.
If you do that, then they'll know what the regulations are, they will know how to handle every situation. And do not let anyone who is not tip certified serve alcohol at the restaurant.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, that was
Yeah.
eloquent. My motion would be a 2-day suspension, 1 day suspended if they are within 6 months tip certified. So it would be a 1-day suspension. If within 6 months they're not tip certified, then a second day is ordered.
And how are we going to confirm that they're tip certified?
They
Within-
just have to bring in the
Yeah, within
notification.
6 months,
Okay.
they have to provide it to our office.
Okay, so Randy, you'll
Okay.
note that?
Yeah, I would second that as long as they understand what he just said.
Yeah.
Have them all certified, have them bring the certification papers here to Mr. Buckner
All right.
within 6 months. That gives you plenty of time to do that,
All right.
I
okay?
think it's a 1-day course.
Well, it still gives
No,
them plenty
yeah,
of time.
exactly. More than adequate time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you understand
Do you
that? It'd be a
understand?
one-day,
Yes.
and as was discussed earlier, you can pick the day at which you don't, your organization doesn't serve liquor, and you can do that now, or you can get back to the town administrator and advise him of the day. You can pick it,
All right.
and that is a day at which you, as said earlier, your restaurant can serve food, but not liquor on that day. And then, as was further said, you have 6 months to confirm that your people serving, anybody serving liquor is tip certified. And if you don't comply with that in 6 months, there'll be another day
day.
penalty.
All right then.
Okay,
I'll
Do you
as long as
understand?
you understand that.
Yeah.
Do you
Okay.
want to let us know a day now, or do you want to get back to our office tomorrow?
Yeah.
Why don't you mull it over and decide?
They gone. My lead.
Good morning.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Go right ahead.
Yeah. Think about what day it is that you would like to have this penalty,
All right.
okay?
Okay,
And
so-
then let Mr. Buckner know what day it will be. You don't have to do it now. You can think about it and decide, and then just let him know.
I was, later, yeah. So the later, yeah.
What?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay,
Pick a day, any day you choose,
Mm,
okay?
okay.
okay?
Thank you, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And so, Harry, is it Harry? John. John, you've already been through the drill, so there's not much more that we have to tell you to tell you what's going on. This is John from Harry's La Casa Mia,
Yes.
and so the background is already well in play. John?
Okay, first of all, serving minors we take very seriously, no tolerance. And I was actually behind the bar when this happened. And it's confusing. I have a bartender who was with me for 10 years, and I got rid of her because they know my rules.
Really?
Yes, it is what it is. And, it's confusing when you're running a restaurant because the detectives were gentlemen. Everybody was fine. It's just the way it went down. I'm watching it when he sat down, and I said to Jamie, I said, make sure you card him. She's got food in her hand. She thought I said I carded him. She comes behind me, gives him a beer. I got it on video, too. And I said, you can't do that. She goes, well, I didn't hear you. As soon as I turn around, they're there. They were like that, And it's a sad situation. And speaking from the heart, the only thing I feel bad for the young boy who was sitting there, and I feel bad for my bartender, the look on his face, like he's going to go home and thinking he got her fired because he heard me say, I have to let you go. I mean, everything went down in front of him. It's my restaurant. This is a serious issue. You give me the penalty or whatever, but it was a miscommunication. I even have a letter from her. That's what kind of girl she is. She's been with me for 10 years, and she's not anymore. Because that's the rule. You can't say, you can't say there's a rule, zero tolerance, and then keep somebody. Because what are you telling your other workers? So I have zero tolerance, and I had to get rid of her. Everybody else knows. And so, on the other hand, this is a hello, people are around, you got to do the right thing. So it wakes everybody else up. But this was also a communication problem because I was behind the bar. My son was cooking, and I hostess too, and I watch everything. It's a Tuesday night, but, and that's what I said, what I saw. And I caught the issue, but it got a little garbled because it was a little confusing. He just didn't say, give me a beer. Somebody ordered food. It was sitting. She actually gave him a bag of food. And he really didn't order food. So it's confusing. So he said, can I have a beer while I'm waiting? And that's why I said, make sure you card this person. But she thought I said, you carded him. So it got a little confusing. But I have to let her go because also, if he's working with the police, he's going to tell them what I said. And I can't have him saying, John said, make sure you card him, and then what did you do to that bartender who wasn't listening to you? So I really had to be careful. I had to get rid of her because technically to him, she didn't listen to me. Even though she was confused. She has food in her hand, yes, because in my bar, you're serving, these poor girls are going crazy. We all are. That's the restaurant business. But it's too serious. You can't serve minors. So
It is what it is.
it is what it is.
Well, the only comment that I can make is as far as your restaurant is concerned, you've been here forever.
This is my first time.
And you have never, ever had an issue.
Yeah, and it embarrasses me to be here because I'm so much on top of that. And what's more embarrassing is I was behind the bar. But when she went behind me, I was shocked. And she made a mistake. She just, garbled in transition.
Yeah.
And again, I felt bad for the kid who was sitting there. His face, he knew because he saw me chew her out. I mean, I'm Italian. I don't wait to go in the back. I said, what did you do? Why are you, not listening? She goes, I thought you said this, and so I think he even apologized to the girl. And I feel bad because that kid should not go home at night thinking that he just cost that lady her job. So that's just speaking from the heart. But
Okay.
everybody was good. The police were gentlemen. The kid, it's nobody's fault. But we're all trying to make sure we don't make mistakes.
Yeah. Well, I think an important point you make, John, and I'll defer to the board here in just a second. An important point you make is, as unfortunate as it is that person you had to let go according to your zero tolerance policy, it certainly does, without question, reinforce the importance of your policy to the rest of the staff. And, it is what it is. It's, but
If it's going to save somebody's life in the future, and then that's the way it's got to be.
Exactly.
So
Right.
somebody,
Exactly.
that's the way it goes down. And that's so you can't say, well, my father told me, you can't have a rule and then follow through with it. Because
Exactly.
then your other workers think they can get away with it.
Correct.
So they saw her get fired, and now they're all more aware for it.
Yep. So, any further comment?
The only thing I would add is also, John, we appreciate you coming in, and to echo Mrs. Smith's comments, you have always run a great business, and we have every confidence you'll continue to do that. And I can personally say I appreciate you coming in and acknowledging that the mistake had been made. And I hope you understand our perspective, because I think you hit it on the head perfectly, is you can't say one thing and do another.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
It's always been this board's policy that we have zero tolerance for violations, whether it's a first or, God forbid, a third or a fourth.
Right.
And, we hope it will be a learning experience for everybody. We were disappointed an employee lost their job in the process. But I also think it's an appropriate time where prom season is coming up. And where,
absolutely. Good point.
tragedy after tragedy occurs. My father's been a cop for almost 30 years. I can't tell you the amount of drunk drivers he's seen, Chief Donovan's in the back. And that's why this type of stuff happens, but I genuinely do appreciate you also coming in and recognizing it. because I think that in and of itself sends a powerful message to the other businesses in town, to your employees, and to the community as a whole. But with that, unfortunately, I do also have to make a motion to do the one-day suspension for you. I would offer you the same courtesy if you'd like to submit a date to us.
Sure.
You may do so, but that would be my motion.
Then I'd have to second it.
Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we do appreciate the fact that you've been in business many years, and that this is an unusual situation, and I thank you for the
Oh, no
for
problem.
the good work
No,
you
You know,
do.
it makes a good point. Prom season is around the corner, and it makes, like I said, if it makes them more aware, it's what it is. You gotta
And I'm
do it.
glad to hear that your comment, frankly, that that our police department were courteous and handled it in a professional way. That
They
means a
were.
lot to
They-
us,
they-
too.
You know, he even took me to say, you know, they actually knew. They said, this is your first time.
I
You
know.
know, they know. They're smart. They
So-
were gentlemen. There's nothing bad. It's just we got, you know.
Yeah,
a
it was one of
mistake.
those things that just.
Mistake was made. You got to deal with it.
Yeah. Okay, well,
So-
thank you, John, and thank you for being
Thank you.
here. And you can work out a date
Yeah.
with Randy.
How about a Monday night? I'm closed
Yeah.
on Mondays. Is that good?
Good call, John.
Oh, you haven't lost your sense of humor anyway. That's good. Thank you, John. Okay, we have two department heads tonight. First up is John Charbonneau, the Director of Planning and Community
Richard.
Development.
Richard.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Good evening. You have my monthly report in front of you. There's some public hearings coming up.
John, can I
yes.
just excuse you for 1 second? Because I get so involved in the hearings that my colleague here, Maria, has reminded me that I did not ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting, and I should do that at this point.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Sorry for that, John. Go
Oh,
right
that's
ahead.
okay. Thursday night, we have an initial public hearing for the redevelopment of the Shell gas station property located at 442 New State Highway at the corner of South Street West. As I stated in my previous report, this is something that came forward approximately a year ago, and they received certain variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals, but not others. And so they decided to withdraw their site plan review application, but now they're back. And so their public hearing is going to begin on Thursday night. And speaking from experience, these same owners have renovated many Shell gas stations in the region, including one near where I live in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. And I can say with confidence that once this is completed, that the town is going to be very pleased. It is, the one they renovated in Woonsocket is simply beautiful. I mean, you couldn't even tell that you were in a gas station convenience store when you went in there. So I'm really, personally, I'm excited to see what this looks like after, because it really is nicer than any other type of that type of convenience store that I've been in before. So I'm really excited to see how this comes out. Another public hearing that's starting on Thursday night is Hutch Motorsports, and I attached architectural renderings of what that will look like at the back of your packet. Again, this is great for the town. It's an existing business, has been here for a while in Raynham Marketplace, and they've simply outgrown their current space. So they're building a new space just to the east of the Raynham Athletic Club. And the one issue that I've already brought up with the applicant and his engineer is noise is going to be the major mitigation issue with the houses on Judson Street to the rear of that property. So it's something I've already discussed with the applicant, I've already discussed with the planning board's peer review engineer. And so the applicant is coming to the public hearing ready to address any noise concerns that may come up. So hopefully that will go smoothly. And again, seeing the architectural renderings for yourself, I'm confident that this is going to end up being a building that, again, the town is really going to like. Thirdly, started work. On March 2nd, there was a kickoff meeting with Serpent staff, the Business and Economic Development Committee, and I know some of the Board of Selectmen were there to talk to Serpent staff, get information from them as far as what the economic brochure will contain in the process, and receive input from the committees and from the town as far as what we would like to see and things that are important to us. So following that meeting, I'm now working with Serpent staff to provide them with information and data so they can start fleshing out the brochure. And so that's a really exciting thing, and the grant, we have the rest of this calendar year to finish that, so that work is commencing as we speak, and we're moving forward on that. And lastly, I just received late yesterday, the Planning Board of Bridgewater, their approval on the hotel on Route 104, adjacent to the affordable housing project that's under construction. Unfortunately, there was no condition of approval that included any type of traffic mitigation. In fact, in my experience as far as writing decisions in the past, and reviewing decisions, the town of Bridgewater didn't seem to get anything, to be honest with you. No mitigation at all. All the conditions seemed to be very boilerplate, like hours of construction and, planning board members and their representatives will have access to the property, just very basic things. And reading through it, there's really no discernible mitigation that came out of this project, and that baffles me, because how can you approve a 100 or so, room hotel and claim that it's not going to have any impact on traffic? It's being built in an aquifer area, and yet there is no discernible mitigation that I could see that the town of Bridgewater even got out of this. So I was really confused. Again, I attended the first couple public hearings and submitted documentation. Unfortunately, it fell on deaf ears, but been in communication with Chairman Shivo and also the other Board of Selectmen and Randy to see if we'd like to follow up with additional communication, because there is a retail component of this affordable housing project on that site that will be coming forward probably in the next couple of years, I think. And there's no way at that time that the town of Bridgewater's planning board could deny that there would be no impact on traffic if there's a retail component. So this hopefully won't be our last opportunity to get some traffic mitigation in the area, but again, I'll work with Chairman Shivo and Randy to draft some communications to, Mass DOT and the town of Bridgewater to keep the focus on what we think is important as far as traffic mitigation in the area. So this is not over by a long shot, and the best we can do is just keep bringing attention to it, and that's,
You would think that Bridgewater would have some interest in this problem. I mean, it's going to affect them every bit as much as it's going to affect Raynham, and I don't know whether they're asleep at the switch. I mean, seriously, because when you look at the magnitude of that complex, and every day you go there, there's another building going up, and they've done absolutely nothing to deal with the traffic. It's just mind-boggling. What are these people thinking?
And going through different projects with our planning board, I mean, when B&D Construction went in on Britton Street, there were conditions involving the lighting on the site, and this is a small project on a small site. Or Hutch Motorsports, where we're already giving a heads up that we're going to want noise mitigation, even though it's already on Route 44. So the fact that these projects of that scale are being required to do some kind of lighting or noise mitigation, to read the decision is baffling. That really a hotel really wasn't held responsible to provide any type of mitigation.
So we're going to reach out to DOT and whatever.
We'll work on drafting something up here in the next week.
And one of the things that we need to consider, I'm not suggesting we do it, but we ought to put it in the mix, is maybe we need some consulting input from a traffic engineer or a traffic consultant.
I know that Roger Stolte had been working with a gentleman from Green and Peterson on that intersection near the Rosinas property.
Yep.
So I have that documentation. Maybe I can speak to him and
that
take
into
that
something
document.
else. Yep.
And granted, that's one isolated area, but
It's in the immediate vicinity, and that might have some gravity compared to, just
Right.
appealing to
So
Bridgewater.
there has been work done on that on the past, and I'll confer with the highway director, because I know he has some cost estimates related to that as well. So we'll all work together.
Okay.
We'll get something drafted up on behalf of the town, and we'll just try and keep this, keep us on the front burner. And another issue that was brought up as this public hearing was getting going, I talked to Dan Andre, the planning board chair, about this, is the pavement condition on Elm Street East, especially once you get closer to 138. I went down that road today to go up to Ryan Ironworks to look at the businesses there, and the pavement condition is getting really bad. So that's another aspect going forward, is not only that intersection of the Rosinas property, but the overall pavement condition, as this road is increasingly used with further development is a
Well, you know,
concern.
another related, of course, that's nature's speed bump, but another related issue, though, is one of the reasons that road is in such terrible shape is because of the heavy equipment that travels it to connect, 138 back to 24.
Right.
And one of the things that a number of people, well, at least more than a few have asked me is, why are they not required to use 495 to make that connection? Why is Elm Street, which is a little road with no sidewalks and actually no breakdown lanes, and you have these big rigs, that routinely use that? That's another issue that's related to that whole corridor.
So maybe that's something the town can see if we can pursue, is getting that eliminated, putting a weight restriction on that road
Absolutely.
at some point. So
Absolutely.
That's another
It's certainly
avenue we
not
can
helping
pursue.
the road, and when you see
No.
that road, you know that it's the heavy equipment that's
It is.
traveling it.
It is.
I have a question, John.
Yes.
You mentioned here that there's supposed to be a retail component. Now, is that like a strip mall, or is it going to be one store?
Oh, no, it's
What's it
gonna be a
gonna
little
be?
bit more than that. I'd have to go back and look at the plans, and I can get back to you on that. I don't know
Okay.
the exact layout. I know that in reading the project summary, when I first started here and this housing development first began, I looked at the overall project, because it is supposed to be a phased development. So I'm not exactly sure how the retail component is laid out. It looks like it might be some kind of small-scale retail with maybe residential on the upper
Mixed
floor
use.
from
Oh,
my
I see,
from my
mixed-use
memory.
area.
Yeah, so, but I know for a fact that a future phase, the final phase, is a retail component on that same site as the housing that's being constructed presently. So I can look at that and see
Okay.
exactly what that is. So we can move forward on a few avenues. We can keep, reach out to Mass DOT and anyone who will listen to keep this as an issue. I could talk to Mass DOT about what it would take to put a weight restriction on Elm Street East going forward. That
Will
would be
help.
another thing we
That
could
might
do.
help.
Oh, it will.
So
Because
we
the whole
could-
thing is just the scale.
Getting
It's just-
a truck exclusion altogether probably would be extremely difficult. It's
No.
extremely difficult to keep trucks off of local residential roads. I know that for a fact, but a weight restriction, that's something we could definitely research and look into.
And by the
Especially
way,
if they're gonna have any kind of retail stores in there, they're gonna have to have trucks to come down to
Delivery
deliver.
trucks.
Yep.
They're gonna come off what, 495?
They should.
Down Elm
Coming
Street, right
from the
down.
north,
yeah,
definitely.
495
Yeah.
from 138,
Yeah.
that's right there. I mean,
That's
it's
right.
actually, it's a lot safer, that's for sure. There's no doubt about
Right.
it. And we ought to really push for that, because Elm Street East is a dangerous road anyway, because, if you travel it regularly, you'll see that people actually do walk that road. I mean, quite a bit. They walk their animal, they bicycle there. There's actually, literally, no space off the main road. It's like a foot wide,
Right.
The breakdown
Mm-hmm.
lane. And so you see these big rigs coming down, and it's just an accident waiting to happen. You
Right.
really do. So anyway, put that in the mix, and
Yes.
we understand that.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John, appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please.
I think, to both of your points, I think they're valid. I think, and as the board knows, I had 9 months and I spent significant time over those 9 months in Bridgewater. And over those 9 months, I got a better sense of, I think, the direction the new form of government is looking to go. And I think you're gonna see, great importance on new businesses coming, both on the 104 corridor and the 18 corridor. That was something that Bridgewater was long criticized for, was quote-unquote, not my words, other people's words, not being as business-friendly. And I think they've recognized that, and the adverse impacts it's had on their tax base and their overall budget. So I think long-term, we're gonna be seeing a lot more of these developments. And I think our emphasis needs to be on how internally we can handle those. I think trying, and not insinuating that any of us are trying to do this, but just thinking out loud that instead of focusing so much on what Bridgewater is doing and what we can do to alter what they're going to do, we focus on recognizing what they're doing and taking steps like you just alluded to, Mr. Chairman, about monitoring truck use and trying to limit weight. Because I think that's the best way we handle it.
Yep.
We're at the position now, we're not gonna have a lot of lot more commercial expansion because we're pretty much maxed out. We have a few lots left in Paramount Park, a few lots left on 138, and 1 or 2 on 44. But after that, that's it. But I think now what you're going to start seeing is the Bridgewaters, the middle boroughs, really starting to expand, especially after the Rotary is redesigned. And so that's something we all have to be extremely cognizant of. And with the help of John and Dan Andrade, figuring out ways to handle that.
And to Joe's point,
Thank you.
and there's only so much we can do. Ultimately, it's up to the planning board of that town whether to approve, and they can, we can submit the information, but they ultimately are the ones who vote on it and decide it. And one thing that I've noticed that our planning board does is they're very good at imposing reasonable mitigation. So you mentioned the word business friendly. This planning board in Raynham is very good at imposing reasonable mitigation. So we're not business unfriendly, but they make sure that the issues that are there are taken care of, or issues that may come up.
But
So there is a balance there.
What's interesting is the mitigation that we require actually is to the advantage of the business itself, because it makes the community an easier place to do business. And actually, what you see happening in Bridgewater, as Mr. Pacheco has said, they're looking to attract more businesses. But if they don't make it business-friendly, it's self-defeating. It's kind of ironical, but the way that's going up, that's not going to help that complex, a bit. So they would be well advised in their own self-interest to consider some mitigation to make that business a more attractive place to go to.
Exactly.
And so, the letter to them ought to be, guys, this is in your interest. It's, and as Joe Pacheco has said, we need to deal with our problem that they create as best as we can.
Having unsafe traffic conditions around a business area will discourage people from frequenting that
Yeah,
area.
it doesn't help them at all. Thank you, John.
Okay.
Thank
No other questions?
Good night, John.
Yep. Okay, Jenny, John. Bob Iafredi, our building inspector, building commissioner.
From
I should say.
Bridgewater.
Yeah.
From Bridgewater, right.
Yeah, sitting there in the back, taking it all in.
Is that experience or what?
Good evening.
Hi, Bob.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
I actually plan on keeping my ID in my wallet till I'm 35 in case I get carded now after I came here tonight.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
Okay, well, as you know, the month of February was challenging and a busy month for the building department. We had a lot of snow issues. We had a lot of calls from the fire department. I spent some time with the fire department. I got to know most of the people who work in that department. Every time they had an issue, they were nice enough to call me. We had a couple of structural failures. If you weren't aware of it, we had a structural failure at Paramount Drive Walmart, the Dollar Tree store. And they were both forced to close until they made the repairs, which were all made, and then obviously they were reopened. We had some other problems with Shaw's building, the dress barn. Flea market had a problem. We had a structural problem with the hockey rink on 138. In all cases, it was all roof loading, and once the snow was removed, then it was no longer an issue. We had numerous calls for residential roofs overloaded, ice dams, water infiltration. But thankfully, we got through the whole month and we had no collapses. So I think Raynham did pretty good as far as what was thrown at us by Mother Nature for the month of February. And it looks like it's all gone, and we're not going to have to worry about it until next year again.
I hope.
During the course of about a week and a half, when we did have the snow and we had some threatening weather, which could have brought us some rain, I spent every morning and a couple of afternoons at the schools with the fire department, climbing on the roof, watching the snow removal process, and making sure that they were adequately watched over and safe enough to be occupied. And as you know, schools did very well. We have some good buildings in this town, and there were no issues. Other than that, we continue to work on the multifamily inspections like we talked about last time I was in front of you, and the annual certificate of inspections. I'm trying to go around to some of the establishments that never had certificates of inspections in the past and try to bring everyone up to speed on that. Up until the snow came, we kind of had some quiet weeks in the building department. It was, due to the weather
and the cold, not too many people can get out there and, do too many projects, so it's kind of quiet. But once the weather got warm last week, we started to get a little bit of a ramp up in activity in the department. So I think moving forward, hopefully after this week, we're going to have some warmer weather. We'll probably see an uptick in some activity in my department. Other than that, moving forward, we're going to start working on some sign issues that are around town that have popped up over the winter. Now that I can, get to the locations where they are and the snow's gotten to go away, I can probably handle some of those issues. And that's about it. That's where we're at in the building department.
Very good.
Board?
No
Thank you.
questions.
No questions, Joe, Marie?
No questions, sir.
Okay, well, Bob, thank you so much, and thanks for the help that you gave to the fire department. I'm sure it was much appreciated. It was a good team effort, and hopefully, as you alluded to, the rest of this month in April will not come up with any more surprises.
I hope not.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
To the board, any new business?
None.
Completion of old business?
None.
Town administrators report, please, Randy.
If I can find it, I will give it to you. I got so much paper. So the budget process is ongoing, which of course you know. The regional schools, both Bridgewater, Raynham, and Bristol Plymouth, have submitted at least preliminary budgets and assessments to the towns. Any increase in funding for regional transportation by the legislature will help both schools and reduce their assessment to us. Regional transportation was cut 10 or 20%, about 200,000 to BR and roughly 100,000 to BP. So if the legislature improves on those figures, I think that'll help us. Finance committee's met with police and fire and will invite other departments as needed. Articles are due March 31st, and a draft warrant will be ready for the board's April 7th meeting, and we need a final warrant by April 14th. Next Selectmen's meeting, we've got Chief Donovan and the North School Committee coming in. I have a home consortium meeting on Thursday, as well as a department head meeting following that. And that's all I have tonight.
No selectmen's report?
You have someone at the back of the.
Yep, I'm going to, I got that for community
Yeah,
input.
got it.
So we have here a memo from Dave Flaherty, our health agent, and he's submitting for approval an addition of a definition to the Raynham tobacco regulations. I know the board has read this. Essentially, what it does would close the loophole that now exists regarding vendors selling electronic cigarettes to minors. And I would like any comment from the board on this.
I think there's an article in there that he wants, isn't there?
Yep, there is. Actually, I'm not sure there is an article.
Yeah, there's no article for
There's no
town
article.
meeting, it's just
Yeah, it's just a motion
yeah,
to,
policy.
Oh, just-
Yeah,
okay.
for
Yeah.
us. I would motion to approve,
Yeah.
I have no issues.
Yeah.
Second.
yeah, I don't either. So, all in favor?
Aye.
So we will add that to our regs. It makes a lot of sense to close that loophole. We have here a letter from Attorney, I believe it's Attorney Brennan. And it's with regard, and this is an article with regard to acceptance of open space / conservation restricted area, Carriage Hill Drive, Carriage Hill Estates Phase 2. And you've read this, and he's asking for this article to be included on the warrant at our town meeting.
I'd motion to forward to planning board for recommendation.
Okay,
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Randy to the planning board for that. And we do have some correspondence, and I'll get back there. We have two pieces of correspondence, one from the Relay for Life organizations out of Fall River. They're requesting tag day for April 17th and May 1st. The contact person is Kathleen Johnson, I should say, in Taunton.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And then also one from Troop 40 Cub Scouts, Taunton, for 4/19. It's April 19th. David Sylvia is the contact person, and he's in Taunton also.
Motion to approve.
Okay, both approved. So done. And we have no press time, no any emergency business?
None.
And we do have, is there some input that you wanted to provide, Karen? Okay, so no citizen input. May I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn, sign the bills, no business thereafter.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So done.